CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan in with his thoughts from the night. And Tyler, I'm going to start with that Indy game, specifically Anthony Richardson. We saw some of what makes him exciting and some of what might make you pull your hair out of your head at times with him as your quarterback. What did you see in terms of the good, the bad, and maybe the middle ground that Anthony Richardson would be better off occupying this season as the starter?
Yeah, you highlighted it there. It was the full Anthony Richardson experience, minus the injuries that we saw last year, because that was really everything that encapsulated him tonight. It was just an absolutely sensational start. I mean, he missed one pass, was able to lead them on a long touchdown drive where he looked extremely sharp. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if fans were looking at that saying, I wonder what his MVP odds are, because that's what he looked like at the start of this game, perfectly on time. There was a number of fantastic throws to Alec Pierce. He had one to A.D. Mitchell for the touchdown later on in the drive. He was really on point. And then all of a sudden, they came out for the second and third drives, and he completed one pass for the rest of the game. And you're wondering, oh boy, I was just looking up his MVP odds. Should I now fade the Indianapolis Colts win total? It was quite the up and down for Anthony Richardson, and that's really the story with him right now. He is a quarterback that completed under 60% of his passes in his limited showing last year, but you do see that raw ability that made him a top 5 pick not too long ago. So right now for Shane Steichen and the rest of the staff, it's a balancing act of trying to highlight the things he does well, but also limiting that exposure to maybe where those inconsistencies start to pop up.
Yeah, the body language there told you that was miscommunication on an inside option route with one of his wide receivers there. Try and get those things ironed out, because the top end of that talent is so incredibly high, and this comes on the tail end of some joint practices with the Bengals, a war of words there. He lands the first punch. Maybe they get the last laugh. He finished 8 of 14, 86 yards, the 1 touchdown, the 1 INT. Let's keep talking QBs. We didn't get to see Patrick Mahomes or the comparison point in Caleb Williams on this night, but Tyson Bagent, with those first couple of drives, really looked solid and really looked like the Bears' number 2, was thrust into action last season in the absence of Justin Fields at time, but then you had a Brett Rippon really comporting himself nicely early on in this preseason. Do you think we have a solidified number 2 in Bagent for the Bears?
Yeah, I think so. And you mentioned it as well there, building off of last season as well. 2-2 as a starter. He's completed 65% of his passes. You see him in this game. He kind of reminded me of like Taylor Heineke going back to his Commanders days, where he's rushing for a touchdown in that playoff game against the Bucs with that diving touchdown on the right side of the field. And really, overall on time. I thought all the Bears quarterbacks played particularly well in this game, but clearly to me it feels like he has the inside track to be QB2. And the floor that he gives you, I do think, is something that's important. Obviously, we don't want to talk about Tyson Bagent or Rippon or even, Austin Reed beyond this week. It's the Caleb Williams show. We really don't want to talk about them going forward. But overall, he has shown you that he can come in under duress and really perform at a capable level. Of course, it's not going to reach the heights as, say, a Caleb Williams promises to be. But overall, you do feel really good as your QB2 going forward.
Yeah, you got to be too deep just about everywhere. And the Bears, throughout this preseason, say what you may about a 4-0 record or the competition that they played against, certainly showed a bit of depth on that roster. Another kudos to the roster building of Ryan Poles and what he's put together there in Chicago. An exciting season, hopeful ahead, that is all contingent on the play of that top overall pick. We do assign winners and losers, even on a night with only 2 games. Take me to your winner, who walks away from Thursday night feeling the best about what they put on tape.
Yeah, he was in the highlight, Carson Steele. I mean, he is everything that you want in a preseason story, right? For someone who writes and talks about football all the time, the preseason can get a little monotonous, but when you have a dude that's got the long hair, looking like Marshawn Lynch at times, breaking tackles, rushing for touchdowns at the goal line, and also has a pet alligator, I mean, it's just like he was made in a lab for a perfect summer story. And this game, it really solidifies, I think, his roster spot. Not only is he making plays out of the backfield in a physical sense, but also he is making plays on special teams as well. For an undrafted guy out of UCLA, that's the type of stuff you need to do to make the roster. And overall, I think he's made a tremendous case, not in just this game, but all summer.
All right, you've handed out a W. You got to hand out an L. I know it's a thankless task, but you're a loser on this night?
Yeah, we already mentioned it, but Anthony Richardson, because I just think he has such variance, like we were saying. You know, you're talking about MVP, and then you're talking about maybe fading the team in general. But I do think that he has such a wide range of outcomes that it is scary to kind of project this team going forward. You see that pick six in that game. It was really just, a missed time throw. And those were the warts we saw last year. Again, as much as there is talent-wise, and that ceiling is so high, I think that floor is awfully low as well. As much as we look at the AFC South this season, and as much as we're looking at C.J. Stroud and Will Levis going into year two after promising seasons to varying degrees, what is Trevor Lawrence going to do as they bounce back after a rough end last year? I think the story could be Anthony Richardson, because if he reaches those heights, he might blow out of those quarterbacks out of the water. And if he doesn't, they may be looking at a last place finish. There's just such a wide range of outcomes for Anthony Richardson, and this game really didn't temper those fears.
It certainly did not. Tyler Sullivan, 2 more Thursdays, my friend. We'll talk soon. And don't forget, this season we got you covered on our family of networks. Your primetime games, your big windows, plenty of Kansas City Chiefs, and when they all hit zero, right here, CBS Sports HQ. Highlights, award-winning analysis, and sound you won't get anywhere else. Join us each and every game day on HQ.